If you were to ask me what one of the most underrated thrillers I have ever seen is, I would definitely proclaim The Hitcher supreme. The Hitcher stars C. Thomas Howell, Rutger Hauer, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and is directed by Robert Harmon. What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new patron requested review. This is a VHS review, actually, for The Hitcher. I actually got that on eBay for $7, and it was brand new, that VHS. This VHS right here for The Hitcher. And The Hitcher is one that I've seen a few times. Haven't seen it in quite a few years, actually. But it's one of those I used to watch on like HBO all the time back in the 80s. Seen it on TV a few times, you know, throughout the years since. And it's one that, for some reason, I don't hear people talking about as much. But I find it like one of the best movies, thrillers, that I've ever seen because of Rutger Hauer. Rutger Hauer is so amazing in this movie, actually. You know, he is probably one of the best villains, character actors I've ever seen. You know, like Blade Runner, The Hitcher, Nighthawks. The guy is really just like villain genius. There's something so creepy about him. So I'm looking forward to getting into him and everything that I love about The Hitcher. This is also a patron requested review for Brat Queen, one of my patrons. And I'm so glad to finally be able to talk about The Hitcher. Also, quick shout out for Ricardo Van Den Brat. It's a birthday shout out. He requested that I give him one a while back, so it's a belated birthday wish. But there you go, Ricardo. Sorry about the delay. So, quick plot synopsis about The Hitcher. Very simple plot, actually. The very beginning of this movie, you got this character Jim. He's on the road. You know, he's on a road trip. And if you've been on road trips, you know that there are some stretches that there is just nothing for miles and miles and miles. I've been there before. And he comes upon this hitchhiker by the name of John Ryder. And it's in the rain, and then he picks him up. You know, he feels bad for the guy. And so John Ryder gets in the car and immediately makes an impression. I think within like the first couple lines, he tells him that he's going to kill him, which really grabs your attention.
What do you want?
And Jim notices this car, you know, he passes it, and he asks John what happened to the family back there. And he tells him, I killed him. This is an irresistible character.
Was that him in the car?
I'm sure it was. Could have walked very far.
Why is that?
Because I cut off his legs. And his arms. And his head. And I'm gonna do the same to you.
So while they're in this car, Jim grows some balls. You know, he's got a knife right to his face. Very beginning of the movie. And so Jim takes it upon himself to get brave, and he gets lucky, and he's able to kick John Ryder out of the car.
Yeah. Yeah! 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 Ha! Fuck you, buddy! Ha ha!
And so I think this is a big reason why John Ryder toys with Jim throughout the rest of the movie. You know, Jim thinks he gets away from John Ryder, and then John Ryder just catches up with him. He figures out a way to get to him. And the whole movie is just nail-biting. You are constantly gripping your chair and wondering what's around the corner and wondering what John Ryder is going to do next, because the guy is always one step ahead of everybody. Now, first off, I will say this is actually one of Christopher Nolan's favorite films. And I think that should mean something to you. I mean, if you know how great of a director Christopher Nolan is, then this should tell you something. But when you watch The Hitcher, you will see why. First off, Rutger Hauer, I said earlier how amazing he is as a villain. I think if I were to do like a top 5 villains list of all time, John Ryder might be on there. you know, he is unrelenting. He never lets up, but he doesn't oversell it. A lot of times he just talks at a normal tone, but whatever he says is scary as hell. There is a scene between him and Jim in the diner. There's so many scenes in this movie that I freaking love, but there's this one scene in the diner. Jim has just been through hell up to this point. And, you know, he's sitting in the diner and he's just had enough. And he puts his head down, and then when he puts his head up, John Ryder is sitting right there across from him. And he asks him the question that we're all thinking. What do you want from me?
Why are you doing this to me?
This line is just brilliant. John Ryder, he takes his head and he puts these two pennies in his eyes. And he says, "You're a smart kid. Figure it out." And then he just gets up and leaves.
You're a smart kid. I'll figure it out.
Isn't that great? John Ryder is like the greatest guy ever to me. I love the way he toys with Jim throughout this movie. Really intense actor. And he was so into the character of John Ryder that, you know, he stayed John Ryder when he was off camera. And so a lot of times C. Thomas Howell said he was very afraid of him, actually. Like scenes where he has the knife up against his face.
I don't know if I can say that.
Sure you can. Repeat after me. I want.
C. Thomas Howell genuinely thought he could thrust the knife into my freaking throat. That's how into character he gets. And these are like the best actors. These are cherished actors of our generation. Also, there's a great scene where, you know, just after Jim has gotten rid of John Ryder, he's on the highway. He's happy. He's like, yes, I beat you. And then this car with his family pulls in front of him. And you see like this big stuffed animal. And when the stuffed animal gets pulled out of the way, you see John Ryder with the little kid. And he's toying with Jim. He's telling him, hey, you think you beat me, but you know what? I got another family here. And now their death is going to be on your conscience. It's moments like that give this like a double jeopardy factor to it, because A, Jim has John Ryder chasing him throughout this whole movie. And then B, you know, he's got a conscience. He feels responsible for all these people that John Ryder is just killing. There's a moment where he's captured by the cops, and John Ryder shows up and just kills them all, and then lets him out. I'm not gonna kill you. I'm just gonna have fun with you. What's another character that does that? The Joker. That's right. That's what the Joker does to Batman. That's what John Ryder does. He likes to toy with his victims, and I don't think the guy thinks 5 minutes in front of himself. You know, I think he's just that type of character. He just likes to have fun, but in a very different way than the Joker would. Now, C. Thomas Howell, I think, does a great job in this movie as well, actually. You know, I think, you know, sometimes they say your protagonist is only as good as your antagonist. I think it goes both ways, actually. And I think C. Thomas Howell really does a great job, being that this is one of his first movies, actually. You know, the guy was pretty intimidated having to share the screen with Rutger Hauer and Jennifer Jason Leigh, who was up and coming at this time. And she's another one of those very intense actresses. You know, she's a method actor. But this whole movie pretty much rests on his shoulders, and he carries it very well, actually. He was one of those actors, after seeing The Hitcher, that I thought would go like really, really far. And, you know, he had just kind of a character actor career after this. But I wouldn't want any other actor to be playing the part of Jim in this. I think C. Thomas Howell does it perfectly. There is a moment in this where he has pretty much given up and he puts a gun in his mouth. You know, he's like, I can't take this anymore. This guy has literally psychologically tortured me. And the performance that C. Thomas Howell pulls off in that scene, I think is beautiful, actually. Because eventually he forces himself to stand up and say, no, I'm not going to give up, and I'm going to beat this son of a bitch. And I'm glad that they went that direction and not the other direction. Also, we wouldn't have a movie. And then Jennifer Jason Leigh is great in this as Nash. She works at the diner that Jim comes to after he gets away from John Ryder. The scene that most people talk about with the Hitcher is the finger scene. She gives Jim this plate of burgers and fries, which looks delicious, by the way. until a freaking finger is pulled up by Jim. And the scene is so simple yet so genius and creepy. And of course, the other big scene that people talk about is at the end. You have Nash thrust between two semi-trucks, and John Ryder is sitting in the truck, and he's about to put his foot on the gas. And what's amazing is they went through with it. You know, he literally kills her, and that's it.
You useless waste.
And I know that behind the scenes, the producers did not want to go through with this scene. They wanted Nash to live, you know? I think in the 80s, sometimes they liked happy endings. But director Robert Harmon, he said no. He stuck to his guns. This is the way the story plays out. And really, ultimately, this cements John Ryder as like a horror villain icon. The fact that he did that, you know, no conscience whatsoever. And I guess that's the other question about John Ryder. You know, there's been speculation. Is he human? Is he real? Or is he just like, you know, this evil entity that just shows up from time to time to torment Jim or whoever he wants to torment? I like the ambiguity of this movie, actually, you know, concerning John Ryder. We don't really know too much about him. We know just enough, and it's perfect. It's perfection. Guys, I could go on and on about The Hitcher. It is such a fantastic movie, and it's surprising to me that there is no Blu-ray release of this movie. You know, I just have the VHS back there. There is a DVD out for the movie. But if you have not seen The Hitcher and you stayed for the spoilers anyway, trust me, this movie will stay in your head and it'll never leave. That's what's great about this movie. So I'm going to give The Hitcher a Trapped on an Island, and it deserves it. It's phenomenal. Post in the comments your thoughts on The Hitcher. Looking forward to hearing them. Also, I got my Fuck Off Wade t-shirt. You can buy one of those at the Drumdums store if you want one. And also be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free For All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.